Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar on pCloudy 5.7. My name is Suyash Dubey, and before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping rules. This line is currently muted, but you can submit your questions during the webinar to the chat option at the bottom of your screen. We will answer all your questions at the end of this webinar. This webinar is being recorded and we'll send a link of the recorded video so that you can share it with your colleagues. During the webinar, the duration of this webinar will be 30 minutes and 10 minutes for Q&A. Today's webinar will be presented by Nilesh Tarale, VP at pCloudy. He has over 17 years of experience in product development and testing. He has worked primarily in the mobile application and device testing domain with companies like Sasken, Motorola, Nokia, and Accenture. Now I would like to pass the mic over to Nilesh.
A very warm welcome to all of you. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending upon which part of the world you are joining the webinar. All right, so let me quickly walk you through the quick agenda here, and then we'll move on to the next slides. Agenda is very simple here. We are typically going to talk about a quick brief introduction about pCloudy for the benefit of people who are new to the pCloudy, who are not using pCloudy, who are coming to the webinar first time. For those attendees, we will quickly brief about pCloudy, followed by what we have new in the store now. As you know that we are always taking our efforts to improve our product, keep enhancing the feature list so that the testing team gets more value-added services while they are doing testing, and they get end-to-end testing done. So we keep releasing our new features very often. We will see what are all features we have released in this 5.7 release, and we followed by the Q&A. So if you have any questions and answers, please feel free to ask me during the webinar or towards the end of the webinar. We will have a separate session for that, and I'll answer all these questions. Okay, so let me quickly brief what pCloud is all about. In a nutshell, if you see, pCloud is basically a remote device test cloud platform, which is basically a continuous device cloud platform where you get the real physical devices accessed remotely. When I talk about real physical devices, these are all real mobile devices, be it Android or iOS, with different hardware and software configurations. Right? This is all we provide remotely on the device cloud at pCloudy. Now, you can do a whole lot of things on these devices. You can perform a lot of manual testing, you can do automation testing, and there are so many bunch of things which you can do it on this. Typically, when we see from the mobility perspective, we have multiple applications which can be tested on these devices. Now, which are all applications you can test on these devices? These are native applications, hybrid applications, mobile web applications, or PWA applications, right? These are the applications which are used widely these days, and we certainly need a right and good infrastructure to test these particular applications. Now, what kind of testing you can do, or what are all things we provide at this particular platform? So if you can really see it here, we have something called manual testing. So the way you are doing manual testing as of today with the device in hand, the traditional way, you can pretty much do the exact testing on these devices at pCloudy. The only difference here is you are accessing the mobile device remotely, but whatsoever you can do with the device in hand, you can perform those kind of testings on pCloudy devices. We also provide device analytics. This platform has a capability to provide you with device analytics, which will help you to do the proper test planning for your mobile test applications, create a proper strategy, which will help you to come up with the finite set of devices which you should be considering while testing any application for a given geography. Right? This is a very important feature. This is very expensive data, which typically you will get it from the market if you want to go in the open market and procure it from there. But At pCloudy, we provide this device analytics to all our paid customers for free. The third thing which you can perform on this platform is test automation. Now, test automation is something which most of the organizations are pushing a lot, so that the engineers can concentrate more on ad hoc testing and perform more value-added testing and find good defects with the device in hand. So automation is something which is a key today. pCloudy helps you accelerate your automation, be it the automation test creation part or test automation execution part, right? We have capabilities in build which will help you to create the test automation cases without writing single line of code. So you can pretty much, record your workflow, create the test cases out of that, and uh, generate the test assets as early as possible, right? At the same time, you can also use this particular platform to execute test automation on multiple devices parallelly. Now, the parallel execution is something which is what you're going to get it through this particular platform, right? Typically, if your organization is already having a test cases, be it Appium or Espresso or Calabash, it's difficult for you to create an infrastructure to run the test on multiple devices parallelly. So that parallelism is something which is a value add which we are bringing in at pCloudy. And the last thing here is in-field UX testing. Now, these days we have seen a lot of customers are preferring to get their application tested in the crowd through the crowd testing engineers in the real field, which will give them the real feedback before they release their application in the market. So that's something which we provide at pCloudy. It's not something which pCloudy does it, but we do have our partners who can perform the crowd testing for you. So basically, it's a single-stop shop where you get to do pretty much everything. In addition to this, we do have autonomous testing with the software bots available at pCloudy. And there are a lot of other benefits and features which we have, which will bring in really a big value add to your existing testing. Of course, we cannot mention everything about that here, but those who are using pCloudy, they're pretty much aware. Those who are not, we can have a session for them to understand what we have. All right, so this particular platform can be accessed in two different ways. Typically, the test engineers who are accessing this is accessing via a mobile, via a web portal. So you can actually go to any standard browser and access it from your browser. The second way is through the plugins. So when we say you can access the pCloudy through plugins, maybe with the Android Studio or Xcode or any other different IDE, it means we are not restricting this platform to be used only by the QA team or test engineers. This platform can be used by the developers as well, right? They can develop their application on these devices remotely. They can debug their applications on these devices remotely. They can run their unit testing on these devices remotely, right? And of course, the white box testing engineers can also use it. So these are two different ways with which you can access this particular platform. Now, there are three different offerings which we have. The first and foremost is public cloud. And if you see the public cloud, we have 500 plus real devices available at this moment. Now, this is old data. We are increasing the number of devices from 500 to 800 in the 1.5 months time period. But the amount of new devices are launched, the amount of new users we have acquired, with which we need certainly a whole lot of devices. So this number is something which is growing day by day. So we have definitely around 600 devices at this moment with the different hardware software configurations. We do have devices with real operator SIMs. So in case you want to test your application with the real operators and see how your application behaves on a specific operator, maybe like you want to see how your application behaves on Airtel network. So you can use the devices which are equipped with the Airtel SIMs or Vodafone or Jio for that matter, right? And we have two different locations globally at this moment where these devices are physically kept. One is in India, which is in Bangalore, and the other one is in USA, right? We are coming up with the third location. Hopefully by mid of August, we should be releasing or inaugurating a new data center in Singapore, so with which we can have, and we are growing in that way. All right, now the second offering which we have is on-premise cloud, which is nothing but basically a private cloud, a dedicated cloud for a given organization, right? When we talk about on-premise cloud, it means a dedicated cloud which will be deployed within the client's premises behind their firewall, right? So their applications, their mobile devices will not go outside their premises. It will pretty much remain within their premises, and their testing partners can access those devices remotely from different geographies and perform the testing. In order to protect the data, in order to have the more secure environment, a lot of financial companies, a lot of insurance organizations, they do not want their applications to go outside their premises. So for such kind of clients, we have this particular offering, which is what I have just discussed, called on-premise cloud. The next one is private cloud. Again, when I say private cloud, it's basically a dedicated cloud. It's a separate cloud, a private cloud, which is given only to a specific customer, right? There are instances where organizations are saying that they want 24/7 access to the devices. When we talk about public cloud, it's a global cloud, right? We have customers across the globe. So when you come and try to connect to a specific device, you may not get that device, right? Whereas on private cloud, it's a separate infrastructure, it's a separate instance for the cloud for any specific organization. So only the that particular organization can access this private cloud, and the devices, whatever they have asked for, will be 24/7 available for only that particular organization. So these are three different offerings which we have, right? And these are the, in a nutshell, capabilities or features or the value proposition we bring in to the testing services in today's era. This is what I wanted to give a brief about pCloudy, what we do and what we have it here. Okay, now moving on to the next part, where we'll be seeing or talking about what new features we have in the cloud, in pCloudy, right? So this is a list of new features which we have released in 5.7. The first and foremost, we are talking about the QR code scanner, right? When we talk about end-to-end scenarios these days, a lot of applications are equipped with or having the feature wherein you have to read the QR code or a barcode, and then the application will take you further from there to perform a lot of different operations on that, right? So that's something is really challenging stuff today when you want to do this particular scenario, or when you want to test this particular scenario on a remote device, right? When you are accessing the device remotely, obviously you cannot keep your QR code or barcode next to the device, right? So that's something which we have provided it here. Of course, I'll talk about this a little while, and then we will also see practically how we can use this particular feature to test your mobile applications, right? We also have something called language change. Now, you would have seen that a lot of platforms, a lot of vendors who are providing such kind of services do not allow you to change languages, right? Because they certainly do not want the settings to be touched by the users. But at pCloudy, we believe that we should be giving the device as is, out of the box device for the testing. So we have earlier had given the entire settings open, but because of the security reasons, we have restricted now, and all the necessary stuff we are exposing. So language change is something which we have kept it very handy. I'm going to showcase you that. With this, you should be able to change the language for device and the application, right? Appium 1.17 support. As you know, that Appium servers are getting released in the market day by day, and the latest release, whatever we have, may not be the stable one, right? So we always try to see to upgrade the Appium server at pCloudy, which is the latest one and which is more stable, right? So that's what we have done it here. Of course, we do have something from the web URL cross-browser testing. I'll talk about this a little later when we will show the demonstration there. And we will also see more user interactions on the iOS and Android devices. When we say about more interactions, I'm going to talk about that, what we have in the store. So let's move on and briefly see about each and every feature which we have released just now, what they are talking about, before we move on to the live demonstration. So QR code scanner, as I mentioned, this is basically to test the functionality of your application, wherein the application is invoking the camera and then capturing the image, be it for QR code or barcode, and then uses that information to take the user to the necessary page where the user can perform certain actions. Typically, you would have seen this kind of functionalities in the applications, which is typically for the payments or the shopping, or when you're doing certain transport related stuff. In such kind of applications, you can see QR code or barcode scanners, right? So that's something which we're going to see it in a while. App language changes, as I mentioned in the last slide. This will now enable all the users to change the languages in the installed app while they are testing their application. So let's say your application supports multiple languages, right? If you have an application which supports Indian local languages or international languages, for example, right? So maybe you have got an application with the English version, and it has already got a lot of support for different languages. So when you install the application, you can go and change the language of that application as well. If, of course, it has to be supported by the application. But apart from that, you can also change the language for the device with the same action, right? So it will help you to test your application with the supported regional and native languages. Typically, this applies for the Indian region because we have multiple languages available in India. So when I'm talking about more user interactions on the iOS and Android devices, as you know that when you acquire a device remotely, you can pretty much do everything what you can do it with the device in hand. But there are certain restrictions, certain limitations when you access the device remotely, right? There are certain restrictions which we are coming up with the solution for, and making it public so that test engineers can use it. So these were also some of the limitations we had, which we have now cracked it and made it available for all our users who can use it. So double tap to zoom in, right? For the iOS devices, double tap was not enabled earlier. So now we have enabled the double tap mechanism with which you can double tap to zoom in, be it maps or any image if you have capturing. So you can actually zoom in with the help of double tap, and you can also use the mouse scroll to scroll the page, be it a web page or your application, right? Wherever you have scrollable page, you can now scroll it with the mouse scroller. Earlier also, you were supposed to scroll, and we had provided a flick kind of action. You can drag the page and keep scrolling down, but that was not giving you the right experience. So for that reason, we have brought in the mouse scroller. So if you are using an external mouse to connect it to your local machine, you can use this scroller to scroll the page up or down. We are going to see all these features in a while. And the next one is web URL or cross-browser testing. As you know, that pCloudy has a capability to provide you a whole lot of browsers which are supported for any given Android device. So we have provided the list of browsers with different versions, right? Now we are always keeping that particular list updated. So recently we have given an support for the Microsoft Edge browser, and that's what I wanted to showcase you here, because that's something which is picking up in the market, and a lot of customers would want to test their application, or mobile web application, of course, on the Microsoft Edge browser. So this is something which we are going to see in the live demonstration in a while. And last but not the least is, of course, the Appium 1.17. As I said, we are always upgrading this Appium server to the latest stable build. and 1.17 is the most stable build right now. So we have migrated ourselves to 1.17. We have also provided the support for iOS 13.5 for the test automation on pCloudy platform. So if you are using the automation for iOS, and if you want to use iOS 13.5, you can pretty much use these devices for the test automation. All right, so what I will do is I will quickly move on to the next part here, and let's go to the demonstration quickly. Let me see if I'm still logged in. If not, I will quickly log in here. Okay, so I'm just logging in with my login credentials to pCloudy. Let's go to the devices page. Okay, so when you go to the devices page, this particular thing is for the people who are coming first time to see the demonstration, or who are exposing first time to the pCloudy. This is a place where you will see the list of devices. We have 500 plus devices, as I mentioned, right? So close to 600 devices. You're going to see it in this particular page. You can go and acquire any device of your choice for your testing, right? You can keep scrolling down here for whatever device you want, and then you can just grab the device of your choice. All right, now before I acquire a device, let's go to this place which is called my app data. So I've just opened another tab where I can take you to my app data. Now this is the place where you have to keep your applications under test, your test data, or any such kind of things which you want, right? Now why I have come here is basically I'm going to talk about the QR code, right? So when you are testing the QR code application, of course you have to keep the application here first, because from here you are going to upload the applications, right? So you can see there are certain applications here, right? So I have actually got a QR test app. Okay, I have got something called QR test APK. This is what I'm going to use it. Okay, now whenever you upload, when you just need to say upload file and browse the application from your local drive, right? Whichever local drive you have, wherever you have kept your application, you can go and go upload the application. So I'm just coming to APKs, and then there are multiple applications here, right? So I can go and choose whatever I want, right? So for example, QR test APK. I'm just taking one more copy and keeping it here. So when I say upload, this particular application will get uploaded to the cloud drive, and it will remain here, right? Now this way you can upload the application. Now what happens when you upload the application here? This application has to be instrumented, because you want to inject the QR code or barcode to the application while you are doing testing. So you cannot use this application as is. You have to instrument this particular application, right? And it's a very big application. It may take a while to upload, depending upon what kind of network speed you have in your terminal. So let it happen in the background. Okay, so let's assume that this is the application which I have already uploaded here. Now once you get this application, you have to instrument this application. And how do you instrument the application? You can come and click on this button here which talks about Android, right? Android button. It will allow you to add the library for either follow me or camera sensors, right? So you just need to click on sensor camera. When you click on sensor camera, it will instrument your application, and it will keep it under the same application. You can see this plus sign will start appearing it here, and then under the same application category, you will see the application, the same name underscore sensor and some timestamp.apk. You can see it says it's talking about sensor camera, right? So this way you can actually upload, instrument the application, which is typically you want to test. That's one thing. Second thing is whatever barcode or QR code you want to test, you want to give it to the application. that you'll have to first get it on your local machine, and then you can upload those things. Okay, this is actually still uploading the file there, the one which I had used it, so it may take a while. But you can see I have got certain images. Okay, not here, maybe here. You can see there are certain barcodes, right? Same way there are certain other QR codes, right? So I have actually uploaded that on here, and you can see this is the QR image.png. So it should be either PNG or JPEG format, right? So once you get this, you can see QR code PNG, right? And barcodes, I have actually kept it here. These are the barcodes, right? So this way you can actually upload the test data here. And now I'm going to use this test data in the application there, right? So let me go to the devices page and let's connect to J6, for example. So I'm just clicking on available. Once you click on this button, the device will be acquired for your testing, and you can perform your testing on this particular device. Let go. Okay, now the device got acquired by me, and it will start appearing it here. I have got uh, bad bandwidth today. It's taking a little longer time, but usually it should come immediately. Okay, let me just go and try to connect to some other device in the meantime. It's taking a little longer time. Okay, so device is connected. This is the Samsung Galaxy J6 device, which we have seen. Now you can see we have something called install button here. You just click on install, and it will start showcasing me all the applications which we have already uploaded to the cloud drive from the cloud drive my app data folder, which I have shown you from the other tab. So I can keep coming down and look for the application which I have uploaded or did the instrumentation for. So QR test APK is the application which I have uploaded, and this is the application which we have got instrumented. So I'm just selecting that application, and once you select that application will get installed on this particular device, right? You can see the progress which mentions here. So once the application gets installed, it will be launched for you, so you can perform your testing. Now this application will detect only the QR code. This application doesn't detect barcode, but it does work for the QR code. That's how that application is designed. So we are going to see how we can inject the QR code and give it to the device application. The page is not refreshing. Let me just refresh the page. I think I have got very bad internet connectivity today. I'm trying to connect to some other device as well in case that. Okay, fine. So you can see now this particular device got J6. The application got installed and it is launched. We'll just showcase the application. Okay. Let me just quickly see if it is working here. Otherwise, I'm not very sure that this application work for this device. Let me just try installing it here as well. Okay. All right. So this application, because I'm installing it first time on this device, it will ask me certain uh, so I'm just logging in there with my credentials. And entering inside the application. Okay, so if you have noticed now, the application requires certain permissions. So you have to, of course, allow those permissions, whatever the application is looking for. So I'm just allowing these permissions here. Okay, now when I click on this, it will actually go and open the camera application, right? From where it will start capturing the image, the QR code or barcode. So I've just clicked on this. Now what it should do is it should actually open the camera and see now it is looking for the application to, the camera to point to the QR code. So in this case, what I'm doing is I'm saying inject file. And when I click on inject file, it will start showcasing me all the files which we have already here, right? So let's say the QR image, this is what I want to view. So I'm saying inject image. When I click this image will be injected at the API level, and you could see that particular image will start appearing on the device. And you would have noticed that that image came there. The application read that particular data, right? And it will proceed further, and it will show you what that particular image was talking about. So that QR code was having all this information which you're seeing here. So this way you can go and test the QR code applications on pCloudy devices. Now coming to the language part, now quickly what I will do is I'll just quickly go, because this particular application may not have support for different languages, right? So I'm just going and opening the settings page here, or even this page. If you see it here, let me just go to the settings and make it a little zoom in so you can actually read what's happening there. So it says settings, and then there are certain things, parameters about the settings, right? So I'm just going and saying language. When you click on language, we will help you to select different languages, whatsoever languages are supported here, right? So if I say, for example, Russian, I'm selecting Russian and say apply. What happens is this particular language will be set on this particular device, and the corresponding applications if that is supported here, right? Now you see it has gone, it has changed the language for this device as well. For this application, yeah, there are certain things changed in the application as well, but let me just go and see the device settings. So I'm just going to the device settings, and you can see now the settings have changed, the language is changed in the device. So this way, I mean, we just wanted to help users to quickly perform these actions without getting into the device. So we have given this shortcut here from there they can actually change the language. So I'm just going back to English US and say apply. Okay, so it will go back and change the language back to the US. All right, now next is something about web URL, which I was talking about, which is basically the cross-browser application testing, right? So I'm just clicking on web URL. As I say, if I have to open, for example, Amazon.com and see how the Amazon.com looks like on a different browsers with different versions, this is the feature which I was talking about, which basically means cross-browser testing, right? So when I come and click on select browser, you will see the list of browsers with different versions here, right? So we have Chrome, we have Dolphin, we have Edge, Firefox, Opera, UC browser, and so on. So we keep on increasing this list here, and this is what we wanted to show you, that Microsoft Edge is something which we have recently added here. So if I just want to see how this Amazon.com looks like on Edge 44.11, I just need to select that and say launch. Now, typically what happens here is the devices are out of the box devices. All this list of browsers which you have seen, these are not installed or pre-installed on these particular devices. As and when user selects a specific browser from the list of browsers which we have shown, that particular browser will be installed first on the device from the backend, and then that will be launched with the URL which you have mentioned. So if I just zoom out a little bit, so you can see it here now, it's saying launching browser. So basically it is first installing the browser on the device, and then it will be launching the browser. So it may take a little while because it has to do both the things there. Once this is done, you will start seeing the browser getting launched on the device. Yeah, now you can see it says URL open in browser successfully. So it's basically, can you see the browser got launched? I'm just saying skip because it's a first installation, and I say not now, now. And you see now the Edge, Microsoft Edge browser is launched, and the given URL is also entered there, and the page is rendered. Now this is how I can go and test my application on different kind of browsers, including Microsoft Edge browser. All right, now let me go to yeah. So browser, the scrolling part, right? So how earlier we used to do is, earlier we used to drag this page like this. Okay, so a lot of time if you are not performing the action quickly, then it used to take just a long page, right? So now see, this is the experience you get when I'm just dragging the page here. But instead of that, now what I can do is I can use my mouse scroller to scroll the page, and it's very real time. You can see it's pretty much real time, and then you can actually go and scroll to the entire page there with the mouse scroller. Okay, now let me just release this particular device now. I think we have covered pretty much all the features which we have released in 5.7. Of course, the 1.17 thing is something which we cannot show it here because that's for that we need the automation to be done, right? So we don't have the automation set up right now here. What we'll do is we'll quickly connect to any of the iOS devices as well, and I'll show you quickly the iOS part. The double tap on the iOS devices. I should have shown on the Android itself, but all right, let's see it on the Okay, let's connect to iPhone 11, for example. I'm just connecting to this device. So if you're using maps, for example, right? So you need to double tap on the map so that it will start zooming in inside the application, right? That's what we are going to see it quickly, and then we'll move on to the Q&A. If you have any question and answers questions right now, you can keep writing it in the window for GoToWebinar, and I'll take up those. Yeah, so you can see now iPhone X is connected, and if I go and launch the maps, okay. Let me switch on the map, turn on. Okay. Okay, so this is a place where the device location is physically available. Now, if I just double tap this, it will actually go inside this. You can ignore this particular thing for the timing, but you can see it here. When I double tap, you can see the map is getting zoomed in, and at the same time, you will see the scale here, which talks about, I'm getting inside. So this way, you can actually keep double tapping, keep zooming inside the application and do the testing there. I am not very sure where I have any images available on this. If I have something in the gallery, I could probably show it from there. I don't think I have anything here. Yeah, but this is how you can actually zoom in inside the application or in the images and perform the testing for your uh, double tap operations. All right, so with this, I would like to conclude here on from the live demonstration and move on to the next part for the Q&A. So if you have any question and questions, I can help you with the answers. Okay, so there are certain questions coming in. Let me just quickly launch it here. Okay, the first question is from Muthuraja. Uh, do I need to install my app instrumentation? Is fair enough? Um, See, you don't have to necessarily instrument your application. If your application you want to test it without uh, QR code injection part, then you don't have to instrument your application. You can straight away upload your application. You can also install your application directly with test flight hockey or HP, sorry, Microsoft App Center kind of things, and start testing your application directly. Now, whenever you have to inject the QR code or something like that within your application, that's where you need to instrument the application, right? And uh, if you go ahead with any vendor who provides such kind of services, you will see that everybody needs these applications to be instrumented. Without that, we cannot inject anything within the application. Okay. There is a follow-up question from Muthuraja again. Can I do all these steps in automated way? Okay, so for the automation, yes, you can do it right now. We do not have the we do not I mean we have not released, rather we have not released the APIs for the QR code so that you can automate it through your automation script. But yeah, eventually you should be able to do this particular flow through automation, because pCloud is an API-based platform. So we will be exposing the APIs. We have the APIs ready, but we have not yet exposed to the public. So certain testing is going on. Once that is done, we will release the APIs, and after that, you should be able to do all these things through automation as well. Question from Priya: can we test file upload and download functionality under devices? File upload and download, see, we have Priya, we have the APIs which is released already, which will help you to upload the application or upload the files. Rather, forget about applications, upload any file. So you can pretty much upload any file to the device, and that can be done automated through the API. Download as such from the device is not available uh, at this moment. Yeah, I hope I have answered your question, Priya. Okay, the next question is from Surekha. Are you supporting hybrid apps in iOS devices? Yes, we are supporting hybrid applications as well in the iOS devices. So all the applications, native hybrid, mobile web, and PWA, all these applications are supported for both Android and iOS. Okay, just a moment. The next question is Can we do automation on production APK directly from iTunes or Play Store? The question from Muhammad Khan. You can do it. You can do it. See, we are not restricting any users not to use any open source test framework. We are not binding any users to use only our in-house automation frameworks, right? So if you are able to perform, or if you are able to do the automation testing for your APKs or IPS directly from iTunes or Play Store uh, for Appium, you can pretty much do it on pCloudy as well. And of course, you can execute it on pCloudy as well. I hope I have answered your question. Okay, moving to the next question. Oh, it's a huge long list of questions. Okay, let me just further expand it. Okay. Okay, there is a question from Praveen Chauhan. While testing URL option in different browsers, we need to wait till it gets installed. Does this time is included in device usage, or it will be minus in total users time? Okay, Praveen, no, I think we will consider that. The moment you connect to the device, your device time starts. Whether you use the device or not, it is up to you. So whatever actions you are performing, for every action, whatever time you are consuming, the entire time will be charged from the user. But let's say, Praveen, let's say if you do not provide the different browsers, how are you going to do that testing? You will be going to the Play Store and try to look for that particular browser, and then you will try to install that application, right? So eventually, we are saving your time. You don't have to go and look for that particular browser. It may so happen that you may not get the old versions of those browsers. You will always get the latest version of that particular browser. So in a way, we are saving a whole lot of your time and money, of course. Okay, I think there was a question from Surekha. That question was for, are you supporting hybrid apps in iOS devices, which I have answered, but I think there was a follow from her saying, especially for automation. So automation, see, Surika, there are two things in the automation. If you're talking about automation test creation, then for automation test creation, you need to identify the object elements, right? So right now, we do not have inbuilt capability to get the object elements for the hybrid application. The hybrid part, native part, of course, you can get it. We have an object spy inbuilt feature with which you can get the object elements for the native part, but not for the hybrid part. But if you have the test automation cases ready, you can pretty much execute those on multiple devices parallelly on pCloudy, even if it is hybrid application. Right? I hope now you got a complete answer for your question. Do we need developer signed APK or IPAs? Question from Mr. Khan. Well, we do not need the signed APKs as such. You can get any APK and you can install it on these devices without doing anything there. For IPS, of course, this is the limitation from the iOS side, I mean from the Apple side. This is a security policy from Apple, which will not allow you to install the applications under development on any device which is available in the market. So for this, either you can take the UD IDs from pCloudy, add it to your developer profile, and then rebuild those IPs and then install those IPs on these devices, or use our resigning process. We have IPA resigning process, which will allow you to resign your IPA with our developer profile. Yeah, we basically replace your developer profile with our developer profile, and then you should be able to install these applications on any iOS device which is connected to pCloudy at that moment. Okay, can we do parallel testing with Android and iOS together? Question from Harshit Jetwa. Harshit, you cannot execute the test automation on Android and iOS together from a single test cycle. I mean, from a single test trigger. You will have to run it separately. Let's say you have same application for both Android and iOS, and you have written the test automation cases for these two platforms. You will have to first trigger it, let's say on Android, maybe on 10 devices you want to run it. And once it triggers, then you can trigger it on iOS devices as well separately. But you cannot trigger with the same Android and iOS from the same site. I hope I have answered your question, Harshit. All right, now let's move on to the next question. Okay, let's take this as the last question for today's webinar. And there are a few more questions which I'm seeing which are not relevant for this particular webinar today. So I will answer those questions separately on one-on-one basis. All right, so there is a question from Diana. Flutter applications works in pCloudy. So yeah, Diana, we do have support for the Flutter applications as well. If you want to use the Flutter application on pCloudy devices, you can pretty much use it. All right, let's take the last question because this was a very small question. Question from Manigandan. For app language change, is it feasible to automate in order to verify, compare contents between multiple languages? See this, when you're talking about the contents from the different languages, right? So this is something for which you will need a capability for kind of OCR or something, like. So that's something which pCloudy as such do not have inbuilt. If you are using any test framework, let's say you are using Appium, for example, then you can pretty much use this with the help of some third-party libraries. Maybe there are multiple tools available in the market which supports OCR, maybe pCloud or something else, with which you can do that. But pCloudy do not have inbuilt capability to provide you all this. See, typically, as far as I know, or the way earlier we used to work is when you create a when you create any application, right, and if it supports 3 different languages, for example, so there will be a localization text, right? There will be a reference text and there will be a localization test. So usually the localization test is something which we will test it on the device, and mapped test, right, or the mapped text, for example, in English or French and Spanish, for example, this will be tested separately. You don't have to test it on the device. That's what earlier we used to do it. But yeah, I mean, if you want to do it on the devices, then you will need a reference of that, and then you will have to use with some third party, which may be in any OCR library available in the market. All right, I hope I have answered your question, Maniandan. With this, I would like to conclude today's webinar. There are a few unanswered questions. I will try to answer those one-on-one because these are not related with today's webinar at all. I would like to thank each one of you for your participation. I hope this webinar is useful to you. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.